So the title is around greenfish, redfish, yellowfish, because those are some of the colours that sit within the status of Australian fish stocks. And before I commence, I'd just like to acknowledge the support that I got from Peter Horvat in the preparation of this presentation. And Peter, unfortunately, I had this conversation with Serena last night, and as our next presenter, and I can let you know that Serena's a little disappointed that she did not get the same courtesy ahead of today. She may take that up with you at lunchtime. So what is SAPS? What is this status of Australian fish stocks? Well, it's the most comprehensive set of assessments of fish stocks undertaken in Australia. There's 120 species in there now for 2018. They bring together all of this information on the status of Australia's wild-caught fisheries. And they do that using a single common national reporting framework or national classification system. The reports are supported and endorsed by the Australian Fisheries Management Forum, and that's the executive directors of fisheries and aquaculture from around the country. The fact that we use a single classification system means that you can compare stock status for species across Australia. It provides this roadmap, so some guidance around what needs to be done and where it needs to occur. But it's also one of the key reporting components for Australia's Sustainable Development Goals. And so this is Australia's Sustainable Development Goals framework, and the SAFS is here against reporting platform number 14, which is life below water, and the reporting indicator is 14.4.1, which is the proportion of fish stocks that are classified as being sustainable. SAFS has got a number of unique features. One of these is having a single classification system that all of the jurisdictions are utilising to classify fish stocks. This is a schematic of the reporting framework over here on the left. It essentially uses two indicators, a measure for biomass or the size of the fish stock, and a measure for fishing mortality or the level of fishing pressure, which is giving an indication as to whether that biomass is increasing or is decreasing. There are 6 categories. There is sustainable, depleting, depleted, and recovering that are shown on this plot, and there are 2 others which are negligible and undefined. One of the second key features around SAFS is that it brings an enormous number of fisheries scientists from around Australia to work on a common project. And there are also 37 blind peer reviewers that make sure that the information that is provided in each of the chapters is credible. These are the horrendograms that Peter provided for me to show you just what that interweaving looks like, because you often have many authors working on multiple species across multiple jurisdictions, so it's a good, complicated mix. And this is a great opportunity to give a great shout out to Carolyn Stewardson and the others from FIDC, such as Jojo and Crispian, who help ensure that a range of recalcitrant, challenging, difficult scientists can bring this entire project together to deliver on the kind of timeframes that you needed us to meet. So Carolyn, on behalf of all of the authors, we would acknowledge the role that you play in supporting us and guiding us through the whole process. So to continue with the snapshot, we've added 37 new species in 2018. These include a range of new ones, including black bream, sea cucumbers, and so we're now at 120 species comprising 406 stocks. And this chart shows the number of stocks and the number of species that have been included in the biennial editions of SAPS since their commencement back in 2012. Eighty 80% of the 406 stocks that were assessed, 80% of the 406 stocks were assessed and were classified. So that takes out the ones that are negligible or undefined. Of those, 85% are classified as sustainable or recovering, and that encapsulates the majority of the wild-caught seafood that the Australian customers will consume. And these detailed reports are a really excellent resource for anybody who's looking for information on the sustainability of fish stocks, but also around fishing methods, legislative frameworks in different jurisdictions, rules and regulations, and some very useful and impressive photographs of those species. So what are the key results? Well, this is a really busy table, but it just shows the stock statuses along in the first column, how many biological stocks there are, whether they were done at a management unit, the number of jurisdictions that are involved, and then the total number of stocks. So if we have a look at the total number of stocks is 406, of which 254 are classified as being sustainable. But perhaps the best is to cast your eye onto this last column here, which shows the percentage of the catch by weight that is classified into the different categories. So 90% of the catch by weight is classified as being sustainable. And this contrasts with just less than 1% that's classified as depleted and about 3% that's classified as depleting. Here's another way of presenting that information. So there's a pie chart over here and a bar chart sitting over here on the right-hand side. So across all of the stocks, it is very clear to see that the vast majority have been classified as being sustainable. There's a subset of different species and species groups here, and the key message to point out from these is that not everything has got the same mix of sustainable and depleting. So for example, if you have a look at the mackerel, we've got 16 that are sustainable, 3 negligible, and 1 undefined. It's a really good story for mackerel. In contrast, for abalone, we've got 10 that are depleting, 9 that are sustainable, 4 undefined, and 2 that are classified as depleted. So there are differences across the species and the species groups, and I would implore you to go to the report and have some detailed looking through it. So some stocks are deteriorating. Ballett's source of scallop has gone from sustainable to being depleted. So too for commercial scallops in Victoria and Tasmania, classified as depleted in the 2018 SAPS. But of course, there are a whole bunch of stocks that are improving. So notably, as mentioned already this morning, southern bluefin tuna has gone from depleted to recovering. And that's primarily because there is a demonstrable increase in the available biomass of southern bluefin tuna. Blue swimmer crabs have gone from depleted to recovering, and for the fishery in South Australia, it's gone from recovering through to sustainable. And we should point out that for bluefin tuna, this is the first time in 20 years that this stock is being classified as recovering. So the reports are now out. I would encourage you to go through to the website and to have a look. There is a lot of information there. It's a really excellent content. It's a website that is extremely easy to navigate. You can pull information together for your jurisdiction. You can bring it together by classification. You can bring it together by species, by stock, a whole range of things. It's a phenomenally accessible website to be able to get the information out of it. As Senator Colbeck mentioned this morning, I would also like to give a plug for the report card on Australia's sharks. That report card is also now out at fish.gov.au, and there is a mechanism underway to work out how all of the 194 chapters that relate to this are going to be brought to bear and to be published on the website as well. So, where to next with SAPS? Well, the first step is to include more species. There is a target of 200 species sitting in the FIDC strategic plan. The SAPS reference group will also be working through 2019 and early 2020 to look at reviewing and refining both the chapter content and the classification framework. It's also about trying to see where SAPS can help drive change. So to be getting those responses to occur to those stocks that have statuses of concern. And I think also about moving in the direction of enhancing public engagement, access and uptake of the information. And part of the strategy to achieve that is the release of the new app. And I understand that in App World or Appland, however it's pronounced, there is already some robust competition that's starting to take place over the SAPS app versus others. I'd just like to conclude with another shameless plug for the World Fisheries Congress, which will be occurring in Adelaide in October 2020. Please come along and listen to the range of different speakers. The program is well developed. We are starting to engage with keynote speakers, with plenaries, with themes, etc. And so we would encourage you to put this into your calendars and to join us in Adelaide in about 18 months' time. Thank you.